My mic, Jagger. Why are you muting my mic?
Welcome back into WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. You're listening to the Director's Cut with Nic Rohloff and Tyler Smith, and it feels like we have been on in 2 weeks because we haven't been on in 2 weeks. And busy, Bonnie's basketball. Tyler's been all over the place. And I guess to start there, the Bonnies are locked into the A-10 championship game next Sunday. Tyler was down in Virginia covering the semifinals and quarterfinals, so he's got to do a remote quarantine style today. So he's on from, I think, home, right?
Yeah, downstate New York, reporting live from my basement, and just glad to get back on the air to this. With long 2 weeks, we had a conflict last week with of course, the Bonnies basketball game was the reason we wouldn't miss for anything else. So, just great to be back on the air and great to be talking some Bonnies basketball, which I feel like I haven't really stopped doing this weekend at all.
Well, we'll start with Bonnies basketball like we always do when they have a productive week, and then we'll transition to some other sports so you can have some Bonnie basketball break. But we got to start with them, obviously, with what's going on. We'll start with how was your experience down there before we get into the actual games?
Yeah, if we could just start with that it was awesome. Anytime you can see a live sporting event in this, in the pandemic, it's one of the luxuries of being involved with sports media. So I just, I really I appreciate the A-10 for allowing, 6 Bonnies media members to go down there. So it was really fun, a really fun time. And I got my own suite for the second game against St. Louis. That was pretty cool. No outlets though, so that was weird. All the other media members were in the other suite with the outlets, and I was stuck without one. So I had to charge my computer right before the game. It was kind of hectic, but it was a really fun time, and it was just amplified because the Bonnies walked out 2-0.
Yeah, we can start in the quarterfinal games, and I think we dodged a bullet by not playing Richmond. Richmond was struggling, but I think almost any Bonnie fan out there that's been paying attention would have much rather played Duquesne other than Richmond. We walked past them pretty easily, and then we played St. Louis, and I got to be honest, the negative person I am when it comes to sports, I did not think we were going to win that game, let alone blow them out of the water. What can you say just like watching them in person? Because I couldn't believe 2 straight blowouts by the Bonnies.
Okay, what I can say is I expected to win the Duquesne game by probably near the amount that we won by. I think that was fair. The St. Louis game, however, I would have guessed probably 999,000 times out of a million St. Louis would blow us out before we blew them out. And obviously we hit that mega 0.1% yesterday. And maybe it's not, though, because the Bonnies are rolling. They're playing the best basketball of the year right now. I honestly was hoping that they took that home Dayton loss for the last game of the regular season and just used it as motivation. And it looks like that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and you just hit it right on the nose. I was disappointed with the loss because, and we'll get into what the Bonnies seeding will be with a win or loss this upcoming Sunday into the March Madness tournament, because we're like locked in now officially. There's no way we aren't in, so that's good news. We don't have to sweat it this Sunday. But I thought that if we won that game and then went 3-0 in the tournament, we could have jumped. Maybe I was too optimistic about our seeding, but I legitimately thought if we won against Dayton and then, like we did, go 3-0 in the tournament and win the A-10s, we could have jumped all the way to a 6 seed. That's obviously very unlikely. But Tyler, the thing about this, we were ranked based on the AP voting 31st in the country before that Dayton game, and we're 34th now.
You are right there. That's interesting. I've been pulling for the if the Bonnies had won the first St. Louis matchup or whatever, the second VCU matchup in the regular season, I expected us to be ranked at some point. Obviously, neither of those two things happened, and then we end up losing it to Dayton at home. So the ranked dreams are kind of over. But, I mean, Gary Parrish of CBS today had us at 26 on his 25-1 rankings. So, I mean, we're getting some national media attention. So that's all we can ask for a small school in Olean, New York. So, I mean, I'm just looking at from a season perspective. Yeah, we probably would have been ranked at this point if we did come out with the Dayton win, but I'm not stressing it. I think it was almost necessary that we lost that game because, I mean, VCU. We rolled through Davidson twice, and then we 50 pieced pretty much George Washington, and they were kind of riding on all cylinders at that point. It looked like that was their best basketball of the year, and then they end up losing at home to Dayton for the final regular season game. I think that if we didn't lose that game, I'm not so sure that we blow out St. Louis in the fashion that we did yesterday, or 2 days ago. Sorry, Saturday.
That's fair. You could see a different type of motivation, I think, in the team. And not to mention, something that's not being mentioned enough is that this group that Bonaventure has right now, they've been in the A-10 championship game every year because there wasn't one last year, obviously, with COVID. It canceled the tournament as it started. I think they got through the first day. I think with
maybe they got to the first day because Tom Sipe, our station manager, was driving down and he gets into the Barclays Center and it's canceled when he gets there.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I could be mistaken, but I think they got through the 14-11 game and the 13 game. I think they did that, and then the following morning is when they canceled it. But either way, this team is freshmen. Obviously had Courtney Stockard and LaDarian Griffin on it, which is a different roster, but these same big three of freshmen that are now juniors that have been carrying this team the past 2 or 3 years, if they sniff the A-10 tournaments, they're in the championship game.
Exactly. And, I mean, you look back to that team, they made the A-10 title game, and you look at this year's team, and it's just mountains better than the team we saw in 2019. I mean, you talk about the three-headed freshman attack that we had that year. Now they're juniors. The entire team is juniors right now outside of Alejandro Vasquez. But we added 2 guys to that junior group who have contributed tremendously. We saw flashes of what Jaron Holmes could do last season, and now he's come along as a premier scorer from outside, inside. He's really a 3-level player. And then Jalen Attaway, who had the game of his life against St. Louis. I mean, he only had 17 points, but he's never going to be that guy who's going to be taking 20 shots a game to get to that 22, 25 points. He got 17. He had 13 in the first few minutes of the second half, and it just looked like he was completely taking over the game. He seems like that kind of mature, veteran presence. Even though he's in the same class as them, he seems like that mature veteran presence that this team really needed.
Oh, I completely agree with you. He was monstrous out of that second half start because that was my biggest fear because we were up at half, I think was it 7 or 8 points?
Yeah, we were up 8.
And I was nervous because Bonaventure tends to get out of the gate slow, in my opinion, in the first half, like the first 3 or 4 minutes, and the second half, first 3 or 4 minutes. So Attaway to come out and bring that aggressiveness, and I mean, he rocked the baby. He did it, and he truly couldn't be guarded in that opening minutes. And the offense has been very, very good in the first 2 A-10 games, which surprised me. But they always say, defense travels. And for Oshunashuni to play the way he did in the first 2 games, can't even put it into words. And I don't have the box score in front of me, but Hassan French dominated Oshun his freshman year in the regular season matchup and in the A-10 championship game. And guess what Hassan French has done this year when he faced Oshuni twice? 0.
Not good.
Both games, I think 0 points. I'm pulling up the most recent game against, but I know he had 0 points in the first St. Louis Bonaventure game.
Yeah, he had four points. Yes, on Saturday.
He had 4 on Saturday. But I mean,
2 for 8 shooting as a big man.
Not to mention Jordan Goodwin, their best player, 3 of 9, only 11 points.
I mean, he was the leading scorer. How ridiculous is that? First of all, I thought Javonte Poole, after the game he had against us in the regular season, Javonte Perkins was just going to be raining threes, but that wasn't the case. I mean, he shot less than 50%. I think the entire St. Louis team, if you shot more than 2 shots, shot less than 50%. So that is just a testament to the Bonnies, suffocating defense. It's one of these things where it's like, yeah, we don't have a lot of height. Yeah, we don't have a lot of depth, but what we are able to do is switch a lot on defensive possessions. I mean, that's why I believe that we kind of dominated Davidson, because they lived and died by the 3. So we were just able to switch all over on the perimeter, and that allowed us to kind of contain their game plan and play our own style, make them uncomfortable. And that's what we did against St. Louis. And it's just traveled. Like you said, defense traveled. It's traveled all the way to Richmond. Hopefully it travels all the way to Dayton and Indianapolis as well.
Yeah, and let's jump back to that Duquesne game real quick, because that's where the first game of the tournament, and there's like always a double thing, because Duquesne played the game before, so you can say they're either going to be too tired to play the next game, and the team that had to rest has the advantage, or maybe it would be in their favor because they played the day before and were a little bit more warmed up. But the Bonnies came out scoring the most classic St. Bonaventure basketball game of the season. I think someone tweeted that. I don't know if it was you, Tom, one of the other Bonaventure reporters that were there. But all 5 starters scored in double digits, only 2 points off the bench, and it was an A.J. Vasquez 2-pointer. But it was led by Oshun, who had 18, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks. And then Dom, who had 18 and 9 himself. Like, this team is just so hard to guard when everybody can put up 10 points, and they all average 10 points or more.
That's crazy to me that they all do average the 10 points. They don't always score 10 points, but there's been these outlier games where Attaway has 20, where Oshun has 20, where Jaron has 38, and then he has 25 to follow it up, and then Kyle has 20, Kyle has 27, whatever it is. Dom has 18, and like like you said, it's so hard to guard. And you mentioned Oshun's stat line. I will come out and say that was his. And I was just watching it live. That was his best game in a St. Bonaventure uniform, and I don't really think it's close. I really think he played the best plus all-around game of his career against Duquesne Friday.
It's funny you said that, because me and my roommates were having the same debate on that Friday morning, because his first game of the season this year, he had 25 and 8, I believe, which obviously is his best scoring performance in a Bonaventure uniform. But I originally thought that he had like 25 and 14 that day, so I originally said that. But after looking at the numbers of the first game of the season against Akron, and then this game, when you throw in the 6 assists and 14 rebounds, and like his impact, he might not block every shot, but I know he affects every shot. That's almost a Rudy Gobert effect.
Absolutely a Rudy Gobert factor. I mean, he plays very similar to the Frenchman out in Utah. And, you talk about that 6 assists. That was the game high, tied for the game high with Tavion Dunn-Martin for Duquesne. If you want to talk about progression from Oshuni, it has not been on the scoring end. It hasn't. I mean, you could say it's been on the defensive end, but he was doing all this freshman year as well, 5th in the nation in blocks his freshman year. And I really want to say that he has progressed as a passer. I mean, you put him at the elbow, and he just has this vision where he can, dump it off to Jalen Attaway cutting baseline, or hand it off to somebody who's curling, and he just has this IQ. He's a really smart basketball player, and I've kind of been giving him some slack for the past few weeks, and he showed me up this weekend. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, this weekend, Friday and Saturday, proved me, because I'm an Oshun truther. I mean, some people get agitated with the lack of offensive ability sometimes. But I just think what he brings defensively is unparalleled. And I think I'm cementing myself. I mean, Kyle's been fantastic rebounding as a guard. He's always scoring like 10 points the minimum, dishing out 5 or 6 assists. But to me, I'm sticking with it. Oshun, I think, is our team's MVP. The way he defends, it's unbelievable. Because the guards have played very well defensively at the perimeter, but they can't stop a dribble drive all the time. And Oshun just is right there to either force a pass out or force a tough layup, or like he did against St. Louis, swat 7 shots away.
I mean, he was able to limit his fouling. I know he picked up his third foul early in the second half. Saturday against St. Louis, and then he got taken out for Jalen Shaw for just a few minutes. But the past few games, he's been really good about staying grounded, jumping straight up, and kind of just really affecting shots in a non-foul manner. And that's really what this team needs, especially from him, because no disrespect to Jalen Shaw, but when Oshuni is on the court, this team is that much deadlier. And I could say that about any starter, to be honest. I mean, Don Welch got his second 2 fouls in the first half, and he got yanked. So the rhythm was a little taken aback in the late stages of the first half. So, I mean, when this team is able to play defense legally, I would put R5 against any in the country, seriously.
Yeah, no, and we might be able to see that.
Yeah, if we get Baylor.
The way we're lined up seating in some eyes. But before we move on to the A10 championship game and the potential seeding of the Bonnies, I want to ask you, because you were there in person, you saw it, did it mean for the bench to play the way it did early against St. Louis? Because AJ came out and hit 2 threes right away. Jalen Shaw played excellent 11 minutes, and Eddie Creel even got in and played good 7 minutes. What did that mean?
Eddie Creel got a bucket yesterday. He scored. I was, when you're at an event like this and you're reporting live for work, you're not supposed to be super animated. But when Eddie Creel scored that bucket, man, I had my arms up in the air. I was jumping for joy because, he's not a bad basketball player. Jalen Shaw's not a bad basketball player. AJ Vasquez isn't a bad basketball player. Alpha Coley, no, but he is the team heart and soul. Everybody on this team has a role, and Alpha Coley fits his perfectly. But to see the bench be used by Mark Schmidt, I just hope he sees something in that, because he hasn't done that at all this season. And when I mean at all, Eddie Creel has only played when there's severe foul trouble. He put him in yesterday just because AJ Vasquez took a bad shot. He was like, because Jalen Attaway, if you didn't know, had a bloody nose. I'm sure you saw that on TV. He got kind of popped by Hassan Friend. We didn't, from where we were on the opposite side of the court. We couldn't see it. What happened to him in the opening 30 seconds. So he needed AJ Vasquez in, and then AJ Vasquez took a weird fadeaway shot after he was 2 of 3 from 3-point range. He was feeling himself a little too much, so Schmidt yanked him, puts in Eddie Creel, gets an easy bucket. Off an Oshun assist, by the way. I do remember that. So everything culminating in using the bench. I was very happy to see Schmidt go deeper in the rotation, because you can't play all 5 guys 40 minutes. I don't care how good they are. I don't care if they match up against Gonzaga. You got to give them a break at some point. We saw it against St. Louis the first time. Oshun had his hands on his knees midway through the second half. You got to use the bench at some point. It just has to be in some capacity. You don't have to play Eddie Creel 15 minutes a game. Just give him 5 minutes. That's all it is. And you will see results. Guys will get fresh. Put him in right before a media timeout, and then you get that extended break, so you don't have to miss too much game action, but you're still getting that rest. If Schmidt can do that, this team can seriously make a run. I promise you.
Yeah, I mean, depends on in the draw, but this team has Sweet 16 potential. I really think that. But let's move in on the A10 championship game, because we are matched up. And I say we as St. Bonaventure against VCU, the third installment. It's 1-1 right now. Each team won in their home arena. Just a little backstory. If you guys don't remember, Bonaventure losing by 15 at halftime in the first game, came back and won by 18 in the second time in VCU. In VCU and lost by 3. That was a real close game.
Oshun fouled out with a couple minutes left in the regulation.
So when the third installment, are you going to pick Bonaventure to win? And what do you think is going to go down on Sunday?
We got to stay for actually both VCU games this weekend, which was nice. And we watched them play. First of all, in the first game, Bones Highland hit a ridiculous buzzer beater at halftime on the baseline. So just to start, before I even give a prediction, if we don't contain Bones Highland, we're going to lose by 15. Promise. I promise you we lose by 15 if we don't contain him. So that has to be priority number 1. Number 2, Oshun's been playing really physical lately, been battling with some good big men. Hassan Ward has to be the same way. You have to contain him as well. He's going to get you up in the air. I think he's a better player than Hassan French. So that's going to be his biggest test of the A10 tournament so far. that's going to have to be a containment as well. But I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm just wearing a Bonnie shirt right now, and I want these guys to win. But they're playing the best basketball of their season right now. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know particularly if VCU's playing their exact best brand of basketball right now. They're playing pretty good, but the Bonnies are playing at the top of their game, and they hit 5 threes against St. Louis, shooting 23%. They shot 6 threes. They made 6 threes against Duquesne and shot 25%. So for this team that was ranked first in A10 three-point percentage to not make any threes realistically for those 2 games and still win by double digits, handily double digits, by the way, that just says that we can attack you in so many different ways, and I think that VCU won't be able to handle it.
I mean, you said what we needed to do to win. We need to contain Bones Highland. I mean, he's the best prospect in the A10.
Oh, yeah.
Kendrick Perkins even gave him a shout-out over
Really?
Yeah, he did. Kendrick Perkins sounded his own tweet, didn't quote, didn't retweet, own tweet. Bones Highland is going to be a problem in the NBA when he decides to make the leap. Hopefully it's after this year, so I don't have to against Bonaventure next year. But that man is a problem. He's priority 1. VCU, it's interesting because they're 3-2 in their last 5. They lost to George Mason in OT, but Bones Highland got injured late in that game and missed basically all overtime. They lost to Davidson right before the A10 tournament. And almost just like the Bonnies, they lost to Davidson right before a tournament and then rattled off Dayton and Davidson in the tournament. And we lost to Dayton and then rattled off Duquesne St. Louis. The teams are so evenly matched. The Bonnies are higher in the net and stuff like that, which is interesting. Because I think these teams should be like back-to-back. And right now, Lunardi has VCU as an 11 and Bonaventure is a 9, which is surprising because I think they should either be the same line or the next line because I don't see too much of a difference between these 2 teams.
You actually hit the nail on the head. I was going to say the same exact thing. I think they're the exact same team as far as skill level goes. It's just going to be who wants it more on Sunday. And I think Joe Lunardi's drinking the Bonnie Kool-Aid a little bit too much right now, having him as a 9 seed and VCU as an 11, like you said. I don't think there's 8 teams of separation in between them. So honestly, if I had to, put them on a seed right now before I even give a prediction for the game, I'd say they're both a 10. In my opinion, you could argue that VCU's an 11 just because they're 3-2 in their last 5, and they did have that George Mason loss. But I just think they're the same exact team. I really do. And to have that separation is pretty crazy considering the teams that are in between them.
I like that you said they should both be a 10 seed right now. And let's move into the seeding, the potential. And I looked at it. With a win, it's going to be hard pressed to get out. It's going to be a guaranteed 8 or 9 seed game as if with a win. I would be. I don't
know. I don't know.
What do you think they would if they win? Where do you think the high? Do you think they get to a 7? Because I'm looking at the teams that
no. I'm saying we could still be a 10
with a win. I see.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that the selection committee is as high on the Bonnies as Joe Lunardi is, as some other bracketologists are. Because the Bonnies, I mean, yeah, you could say that their signature win was yesterday or 2 days ago against St. Louis. But
the comeback win against VCU.
But that was at home too. I mean, yeah, it's a quad 1 win, which is great. But that's a home win. We didn't really have a signature win on the road this year. I don't know. There isn't a huge resume building win, and we didn't really play much non-conference either. So I'm pumping the brakes a little bit. I was drinking the Kool-Aid myself 2 weeks ago and saying that if the Bonnies had beaten Dayton and then ran the table in the A10 tournament, we'd be an 8 or a 7. And people were calling me crazy. And now we're almost in that situation. Like, I don't know. I really don't. We just lost a quad 3 game and we beat 2 teams that Duquesne, we definitely should have beat. St. Louis was probably 50-50 and we came out and destroyed them. So we'll see. I'm being cautiously optimistic. And at the same time, I kind of want a 10 seed. I don't really want to play a 1 seed in the second round if we do win that first round matchup.
I mean, if we were a 10 it's hard pressed going to be to get to a 7 seed with a win. We'd have to blow out VCU by like 40 and have a lot of things go our way.
Yeah, a lot of teams have to lose.
But I would rather almost because I think a win automatically puts us in the 8-9.
I think so. I would lean more towards that, but we'll see.
It's actually crazy. I'd almost want to lose because I know we have an at-large locked up, and I know it would probably be a 10 seed locked up even with a loss. I'd much rather play a two-line like Alabama, Ohio State, Iowa, or Houston than have to play Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Illinois in the second round. And
Exactly. I think the skill gap between the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds is so great that we would be. It's a difference between keeping the game competitive against a team, maybe say Alabama goes cold, or Baylor just attacks you from every angle and we lose by 30. I mean, I have no idea.
No answer for Baylor.
No
answer. They are the most. I mean, Gonzaga or Baylor. We'll get into that later when we talk college basketball, but. I mean, Baylor, they had that one loss, and then what they've done since has been nothing short of remarkable, I'll say that. But that's going to round out our Bonnies section. So you're finally going to get a break about talking from the Bonnies. You're going to get some rest.
I'm exhausted. Nah, not really. I love talking this Bonnie. This team is so exciting. This team is so exciting, man. I mean, I could talk about them for hours, but I mean, I'll save that for Dayton this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to head to break. When we come back, we're going to talk some NBA. Hashtag this week in this league. We had the All-Star weekend, or a shell of it, and we'll get into some other NBA talk for the second half of the season. Stay tuned on the Director's Cut and 88.3 The Buzz. Welcome back into WSBU 88.3 The Buzz, live from St. Bonaventure University. You're listening to the Director's Cut with Nic Rohloff and Tyler Smith. We got Tyler remote from his home. I'm in studio. We just talked some Bonnie's basketball, and it's now time to get into the pros. It was an interesting weekend, Tyler, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, this week in this league, interesting. Definitely All-Star weekend. We don't have any games on the schedule until Wednesday, so kind of NBA deprived for the next few days. Kind of miss it, but we're getting a little bit of college basketball in there too, and we're still riding off that success of the Bonnies as well. Just to mention them one last time. But yeah, it was a weird weekend. I'll say that I really enjoyed the All-Star game. I did. The rest of the events, as far as skills competition, nobody really cares. 3-point contest was fun, felt a little bit normal. Dunk contest, not so much. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I really enjoyed the game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the game was entertaining. Even though it was a blowout, which was disappointing because I would have liked to see them actually try in the fourth quarter like they did last year again, because that was great. But the display of shooting that we saw, unbelievable.
I mean, the talent level in the NBA is just ridiculous. I mean, you did have, and you talk about it being a blowout. I mean, Team Durant did have Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Devin Booker all supposed to be on the roster as well. So, yeah, everybody could kind of see a Team LeBron coasting coming, but I don't think anybody could tell that Damian Lillard and Steph Curry would be trading half-court shots every couple possessions.
And it was just, and then you can't even mention like the All-Star MVP, like Giannis went 16 of 16, taking in 2 threes and then hitting a sidestep, nothing but net, which I don't think
that was ridiculous.
I won't see that ever from him again. I tell you that. But I mean, even your Celtics, they Jaylen Brown had 22.
Brown balled out. He did not want to miss.
Jason Tatum was jacking, but it's okay. No, I liked it was fun. The Kyrie Irving and Tatum duo was interesting to watch because as them teammates once again, they were both shooting. Same with Bradley Beal. He got his shots up too. He got
definitely.
6. But we both obviously said we were entertained from it. But was there anything else other than like the deep 3-point shots? Like I was jaw dropped by seeing those.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're just talking about any other aspect of the game, I mean, you said it was a blowout. It wasn't super competitive in the fourth. I mean, Team Durant started making some threes. They started trying to double, create turnovers. So that little 3-4 minute stretch was probably the most entertaining part of the game. And then, like you said, the deep shooting, Steph and Dame just said, nope, this ain't happening. Sorry.
58 total made threes, and I believe
I didn't even look at that number. Wow.
58 threes between the two teams, and 133 three attempts. Unbelievable. I mean, but what do you expect in the All-Star game? No one's going to take mid-range jumpers. It's going to be layups, dunks, and deep threes. Which I mean,
DeMar DeRozan isn't playing in the game, so we're not seeing any mid-ranges or anything like that.
It served its purpose as being entertaining. I do want to ask you though, because most of the players didn't want to play in it. They were pretty outspoken about it.
You're LeBron.
Yeah. It was they were pretty outspoken. And then, of course, the worst possible case for the NBA is that happened on Sunday morning with Embiid and Simmons barber contact tracing, and they had to sit out, which just totally proved the players right. Would you have done it? Would you have had a game, or would you have just named the All-Star rosters and left it at that and gave the players a week off?
As a person, I would absolutely just give them the week off, let them go be with their families. I mean, they haven't really had a break so far this season. It's condensed. The games have been developed so many back-to-backs this year. I probably would have just sent them home, to be quite honest. But I can see why the NBA did it. I mean, you're not getting any ticket sales this year. You're not getting a full weekend out of it, so you got to have something. I mean, you didn't have a Rising Stars game. You didn't have All-Star Saturday night. You condensed it all into one, and you didn't even have the Rising Stars game. So as a business, I can see where the NBA is coming from. But, from a public health standpoint, you like you said, the players were proved right. And not Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons couldn't play. So I probably wouldn't have had it as a person if I'm just going to, strip it down to its core.
I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I will take the added entertainment on a Sunday night because there really was
from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, But I mean, it was kind of dumb. It was not the smartest thing. Why not, especially in this crazy season, give the players the extra rest that they needed, especially because you said it condensed and like they're just playing so many more games than in a shortened amount of time that they would usually have done. Just give them the time off. But other than that, the game was entertaining. I like the Elam ending. I think they should keep that.
Definitely.
I think they should keep that, and just hopefully in the future we get it closer, so we get a crazy fourth quarter like we did last year. That's my only hope.
Yeah, Lay GM obviously picked up the best roster of both teams. I mean, who could have guessed that? He's been picking his own roster for about 10 years now. So, but no, Team Durant.
What is Katie doing? I mean, obviously, like I feel like it's so dumb. You have to be like so like conscious. He had to pick Kyrie because he's his teammate.
Well, LeBron can't be picking Kyrie.
I mean, I would have sent a bad message if he picks Curry over Kyrie, maybe. I don't know, but you can't let him get Giannis and Curry. That's just unfair.
Giannis, Curry, Lillard, and LeBron. I mean, LeBron didn't really play, but you put those four on a court against anybody. Oh, yeah, and he had Luka, too, who didn't really do anything. But, I mean, you put those five on a court, I don't really think they're losing to anybody. So whoever Durant could have picked up besides that, I would have commended him if he could come out with a win. But obviously that wasn't the case.
Before we get on to the three-point contest and dunk contest, talk about that. I want to talk one more thing about the draft. What do you make of the two Jazz players going last in LeBron's comments?
I actually didn't watch the draft. What were LeBron's comments? I actually did not hear those.
So the two Jazz players went last, and Charles Barkley was upset that the two Jazz players went last.
Of course, Sir Charles was mad.
Because they were the two best, or they're on the best roster or the best team record-wise in the NBA at the All-Star break. So then he toyed with them and said, how do you have the two Jazz players go last? And then LeBron said something, well, you know, Chuck, when you play 2K, no one really ever plays with the Jazz. Karl Malone and John Stockton, which to me confused me because what does 2K have to do with the current day Jazz? But
I don't know. I really do think I do actually kind of remember this now. Like, jog my memory. I do think it's a Karl Malone diss. I really think it's a Karl Malone diss.
I understand Rudy Gobert going, and I don't understand going last. Yeah, he's boring. He doesn't play defense. What's he going to bring? But I'd much rather have him on my team than Julius Randle, Sabonis, and Nikola Vucevic.
Vucevic, my guy, who I picked. I don't know if we were. I don't know. I don't think we got a show after we picked our All-Star guy. I said, my guy, Vooch, baby, let's go.
I can't believe they gave it to the three of them. I really can't believe Vucevic, Randle, and
I didn't think all three would make it. I did not think all three would make it.
But either way, I can't believe the two, like Donovan Mitchell going bottom two. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he was better than a lot of those guys who got picked before him. Is there some sort of Jazz resentment because they're number one in the NBA right now, and everybody's like, riding them? Or I don't know, but Donovan Mitchell was by far not the worst player on the board.
No, like I said, it would either be Sabonis, Randle, or Vucevic, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But even if you I could get Rudy Gobert because there's a little growing dislike towards Rudy Gobert because of what he did at the COVID last March, with the COVID thing and stuff like that. So I could see the resentment there to have him last. But what did Donovan Mitchell do?
I don't know. Donovan Mitchell even resented Rudy Gobert last year. I mean, so I don't know what the hate all is, but I mean, hopefully I'm not a guy who believes that the Jazz have any chance at winning the title, but hopefully they use that as some sort of motivation, as it's kind of them against the world mentality. And they can kind of make a historic playoff run if they were to do so. So I mean, if you want to look at a positive about it, there you go.
Let's move on from the draft talk, and let's start with the 3-point contest because I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Curry there's really no debate. He's the greatest shooter of all time.
I mean, he proved it again last night. Once in the first round, I mean, he was just unconscious. Unconscious, and he missed the first two, and then he was like, "Okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing." Just didn't miss, maybe missed two the rest of the entire way. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Wouldn't that have been something though if Mike Conley won the 3-point contest
in his first All-Star weekend? Mike Conley And just a sidebar real quick. I mean, I didn't realize, honestly, 3 Jazz players did make it with the Mike Conley edition. But if you're a fan of the NBA, there's always been this talk like Mike Conley is the greatest player to never make an All-Star team. And he finally did it. And it said that he has the longest active streak or longest streak in NBA history of the amount of years before you make your first All-Star team. He's been in the league 14 years, and he just made his first All-Star team. So congratulations to Mike Conley. That was an amazing thing for NBA fans who have been following that kind of saga. But it would have been awesome if he kind of took the crown from Steph there. That would have been cool.
It would have been something. I'm surprised how well Tatum did in the first round.
Yeah, I thought he were eliminated early.
I was not. It was interesting because Jaylen Brown had the worst score in the out of anyone. It was 17. I think Tatum, did he tie 17?
Yeah, he tied 17 in the second round.
But then he lights it up in the All-Star game, of course. Couldn't miss. 8 of 12, 5 of 7 from 3. I really thought the final 3 was going to be Curry, Levine, and Conley. I did not expect Tatum to shoot the way he did.
Yeah, in the first round he was really good. I was kind of sweating a little bit because he did go like second or something like that, and he had 25, and then I saw Mike Conley get up, and then I was like, oh, Curry's got to go too, and then Levine didn't. Levine missed him by 3, so I was pretty comfortable there. And I don't really put much stock into the 3-point contest as far as a barometer of players, but I would have liked to see my guys get to the end.
Yeah, I mean obviously, but I mean just with Curry in the 3-point contest, showing what he did, and then what he did in the All-Star game. I don't know how people still debate it. Like I can understand people saying that if they'd rather have someone take a last shot, maybe Dame, because of how clutch he's been. But I don't get people trying to belittle Curry's shooting ability by saying like, oh, Dame's the best distance shooter. I mean, we saw them take 2 deep shots, but I don't think there was anybody that I would rather have than Curry taking a deep 3.
I mean, yeah, 100%. And I mean, you look at the game real quick. He shot that 1-3 from the corner and turned around like right as soon as he released it. That was ridiculous. I mean, nobody in the NBA can do that except for Stephen Curry, and he just keeps showing it time and time again.
You know what drives me nuts is that ESPN was comparing it to the one LeBron did earlier against Houston from the corner, and I was like, I don't know if you remember this. Curry literally did that like 2 or 3 years ago in the regular season.
I was gonna say he's done this before. This isn't the first time. This time was just the most premature that I've ever seen him turn around.
Yeah, I didn't understand. They're like, oh, LeBron earlier this year. Like, no, Curry really started that 2 or 3 years ago. But the 3-point contest was great, and it's crazy. But this is the way the league's heading: is that the 3-point contest is more entertaining than the dunk contest, and it definitely was this year. This dunk contest stunk.
Oh, and I didn't want to like be the guy to come out and say it stunk, so I'm glad you did. But I will level with you. It was horrible. The worst dunk contest I've ever seen in my life. I would have rather had Jeremy Evans, Glenn Robinson, Terrence Ross. I would have had those guys come back for it, and we would have had and then get Zach LaVine out of the locker room. What's he doing? Oh my God! It was so. What's up?
I said I don't think Zach LaVine would ever lose in a dunk
contest. That's why he won't do it again. It's kind of like they should ban Curry from the 3-point contest. They should ban Zach LaVine from the dunk contest as well. There's nobody better in the NBA than him. You remember that? You remember that dunk in pregame warmups that he did? It was better than any dunk that we saw last night. It was ridiculous.
The thing was, Obi Toppin did that dunk. Was his first dunk, and he like did at least this variation of it, and it wasn't even like that impressive because LaVine like it. I feel like in the dunk contest, I do gotta say, the big man gets a little less love, I think, because it doesn't look as cool. Because it's obviously
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, it's much cooler to see the little guys jump up and do cool dunks rather than the big guys, in personal opinion. But do you think Obi got robbed? I honestly think Cassius Stanley got robbed. His first dunk was the best one of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the problem with these guys, that their first dunks were way better than their second dunks. So I mean, there wasn't much room for improvements. Cassius Stanley getting a 44 on the first dunk, though, that was nasty. I don't know why he got such a low score. I guess it's because he was the going first of the night. But yeah, I actually did think Obi got robbed. Yeah, Anthony Simmons, that was cool gesture, but you didn't kiss the rim. You weren't really that particularly close to it. I don't know. I wasn't a fan. It's tough.
the dunk contest just gets harder and harder every year because it's gets harder and harder to have originality. And I think the reason why they gave it to Anthony Simons is because he did a couple things that, I mean, yeah, they were kind of basic, but I mean, they're original. I mean, the first dunk
Yeah,
where he jumped up and grabbed the ball off a mini hoop 12 feet up.
I'd say that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I haven't seen that a lot from a small guy. I mean, the kiss the rim thing. People saying that he should have actually kissed the rim don't understand that if he tried to, he
Break his teeth.
yeah, would have broken some teeth. The people who say that obviously don't really understand the basketball, in my opinion. But I like the idea that it was original. That's why I would have given it to him between the two.
Yeah, what was Obi's second dunk?
It was
the final round dunk.
It was a.
Oh, he jumped over his dad and Julius Randle.
That was his second dunk, but because they each had one final dunk, and that's determined the win. You know, it was. I don't know if it was a windmill or between the legs.
Oh yeah, he windmills from basically the free throw line.
It was like a step in, but I mean, like I said,
I've seen that before. 2016.
Yeah, I've seen that before though.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of what like you said, that is kind of what the dunk contest is judged on now, is originality.
Yeah, like if you see the same dunk done over and over, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, like 99% of the people in the world can't do it. But if I've seen it, it doesn't do anything for me. That's just
I forget what he said. Shaq said something like, if he windmilled off of one of the dunks that Anthony Simons did, he would have given it a 50. And I was like, Shaq, do you understand how hard it was to even do the dunk that he did, let alone put another trick into it? Like, you're 7'3", 312, 20 pounds, whatever you are. You can't go do that. So I don't know why you're asking Anthony Simons at 5'11" to go do it.
Yeah, I don't really understand that either. There's too much critique, and I don't know if you watched it, but
yeah, I did watch it.
Kenny Smith, I love, but him trying to get people like hyped for these dunks make me laugh out loud. Like, obviously he has to get excited and try to bring energy, but there was no excitement to the dunk contest, and all I could hear is Kenny trying to get people hyped. Like, nah, you can relax.
It's over. That's a 50. That's a 50. No, it's not, Kenny. Come on. The players on the sideline weren't even getting hyped. I mean, when Anthony Simons did the kiss the rim, they panned to Steph, and all he was doing was this. He was just kind of sitting there like this because he got his head up there. But like, the players were not excited at all. A lot of them were in the locker room. It was weird.
No one even knew what he did until replay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that just shows you, like, if you have to go to replay to figure out like why it was a cool dunk, that probably shows you it's not the greatest dunk in the world. But anyway, let's move on from All-Star break. Let's talk about the second half of the season. There was also a interesting signing today, or was it yesterday official? It was either today morning or last night, right before the All-Star game. But Blake Griffin, who was bought out by the Pistons, signed with the Nets. I think the Nets are becoming the equivalent of old players going to try to get a ring in Tampa Bay in the NFL. What does Blake Griffin bring to the Nets, if anything, Tyler?
Okay, so I was, I saw this in the pre-show plan, and I was kind of debating about it because I really have no idea. Because the way that Blake Griffin has played this season, the way that he played last season, is lackadaisical, unathletic, and he can't really move laterally. He's never been a great defender, and he's like 32, 33 now. I don't even know. He's up there. I mean, he was drafted in 2009, and what's that, 12 years now since then. He's been in the league a while, but I really don't know. He's averaging like 10, 12 points this season. He stands around a lot on defense, but you could factor that into being a member of the Detroit Pistons. So he's obviously hasn't been super happy in Detroit. You could see that just based on his body language, and he hasn't dunked a basketball in 2 years.
Yeah, he also he averages 12 points this season. He shoots 36.5% from the field and 31.5% from three. The jokes online are like they're the greatest things ever. They're undefeated because someone said that they're boycotting the NBA if first game back he catches a lob from Kyrie.
That I will do. Investigations need to start if that happens.
Investigations need to start if Blake Griffin goes to the Nets and starts catching lobs like he is back in LAC. But as gooey as this sounds and as terrible as this sounds, he's a more inefficient Kelly Olynyk right now, and that just hurts me to see.
Whoa, I mean, coming from you, that's a burn.
Because I might be the lowest human alive on Kelly Olynyk, and I don't see him doing anything else that Kelly doesn't do. Like, they both don't play defense. They both kind of just stand on the outside. Kelly Olynyk averages 10 points, like a little bit less, but he shoots 44% from the field and 33 from three. They both don't really get rebounds for being a big guy. Like, at this point in their career, it's just weird. And I actually do think it means something for the Nets because they don't have a good bench as of now, especially interiorly. Their backup big was Nick Claxton. Sorry, Nick Claxton.
Nick Claxton's don't diss on my boy Nicky Claxton, all right? He's been playing pretty good. I promise.
But Blake Griffin, small ball 5 coming off the bench. I don't think there's anything. He's not going to hurt them.
No.
But the question is, how much will he help them? And to me, it's not that much.
It can't be that much unless, like you said, he just turns into a monster and starts catching lobs again and postering people. But I don't see that happening. He would have exuded some sort of effort as far as that goes in Detroit at some point, and we haven't seen it. So, one thing I can say about Blake Griffin is that he's set for life. I think we knew that he'd be set for life when he jumped over a Kia 10 years ago, and he's getting paid the veteran minimum, but he is also guaranteed all of the vast majority of his money from Detroit and that Clipper deal that he signed a couple of years ago. So he's got all that money guaranteed. Why not just throw your body out there, play at the highest level that you can, and go try to help these guys to a championship? Because James Harden, Blake Griffin were two guys in the West in the early 2010s who everybody was like, these guys are never going to get a ring, especially when the Warriors dynasty started coming up. They basically went from Spurs right into Warriors in the West, and now they're at Lakers. So these guys really basically never had a fair chance to win the title because there were just dynasties rolling through that conference. Hopefully Blake Griffin just can sit on his money and say, you know what, I'm going to go play basketball. And he hasn't done that in Detroit. Hopefully he could do it in Brooklyn. We'll see. It would be scary for the league if he does come out and play well.
Well, Tyler, as much as I want to continue our NBA talk, we have breaking news.
No.
Big time. I don't know if you saw this. The Cowboys and Dak Prescott have agreed to a 4-year, $160 million deal. Includes $126 million guaranteed. The first 3 years are an average of $42 million per year. That's a Schefter bomb on Monday, March 8th.
Couldn't the first time we got major breaking news on the director's cut?
I think it is, and it's funny because we might get that more next week because our show next week is Monday 6 to 8. We'll be doing a lot of bracket stuff, but it's also the first day the league has or the NFL has tampering. So there.
Oh my God, we get that on the same day.
There can be some quote unquote deals being made that Monday, but yeah, Dak signed 4 for $160. I guess we were going to talk basketball. Maybe we'll push that back. We have to talk about this.
After this next break, we're going into Dak. I'm sorry.
Wow. Okay, then. Well, that's shocking. We're going to gather our thoughts. We're going to head to break, actually. When we come back, we'll talk about the Dak deal, and then we'll actually transition back into basketball before moving back in the NFL. So stay tuned here on the Director's Cut live from WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. Welcome back to WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. You heard it live right there. Dak Prescott, he just counted us in there from break, and obviously he just got a crazy deal. And we have some viewers saying that's a mistake. Jim Carroll, that's actually my uncle, shout out. But Tyler, what do you think of the deal?
Okay, so I will actually defect from Mr. Jim Carroll's comment. I think it's worth it, man. I really do. And I would not have said that, 6 months ago, the beginning of last season, but we saw the glimpse of what Dak Prescott could do with the talent around him at the beginning of the season. Unfortunately, week 5, he did go down. But, I mean, we knew the talent that he had. We just had to see the progression. We had to see the discipline. We had to see the decision making. And we saw it at the beginning of this year. He was the fantasy leader. He was the leader in yards for over 2 weeks after his injury. And, you can't let a guy like that just slip out. And if they were going to franchise tag Dak Prescott, he was not going to come back. And they would be stuck with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Ezekiel Elliott, and Andy Dalton. And that we saw was not going to win you football games. And Dak Prescott's going to win you more football games than anybody else who was going to be behind center. They had to get the deal done. He's now the second highest paid quarterback annually in the NFL. I just think it's worth it. You had to do it.
Yeah, I don't I can't I mean I kind of still processing it, me
Definitely.
because it's a big deal, but I think I agree with you. What other options out there were there? Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, you needed that money for defense. But I think it's more important to have an elite quarterback than it is to have maybe use that money for 2 good defensive players. And who knows if this defensive players they would have signed would even worked out too well. But either way, like you said, you know what Dak Prescott is. I mean, the injury I don't think is going to affect him too much. But man, he's been solid basically his whole career. So I don't know, what else do you want? He's going to be your franchise quarterback moving forward, and I like the move for them personally.
It has to be because, like you said, who else are they going to go get? Obviously, we knew Dak Prescott was coming back next season, whether it was on a franchise tag or like we see now getting this deal done. So you weren't going to go find a quarterback in the draft this year. The quarterback, class isn't as deep as it is this year. Next season, so they weren't going to go figure it out then. They were going to be stuck in purgatory again with no quarterback. And if you have no quarterback and no defense, which they don't have, you're going to be a bottom of the barrel NFL team. And even in that division, I wouldn't have been able to see them coming in any place other than 4th if they did not have Dak Prescott or any quarterback next season.
Now, this is actually funny because we're going to talk about franchise tags and coming up with the NFL, and he was one of the people that we were going to talk about on what should happen with him, and that's taken off obviously because he signed a massive deal. But you mentioned the draft, and that's my thing. What were they going to get out of this? And if they let Dak walk or tagged him this year, and he's going to walk the following year, they're going to be stuck in a bad spot. They have a lot of offensive weapons. I believe Michael Gallup is a free agent. I could be wrong.
You could bring him back on a small deal. I don't think he's really looking for too much.
He could, but he could easily walk. But I don't think it makes that big of a difference with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper still there. What they do need to do as a team is somehow get rid of Zeke's contract.
They probably do. You're probably right.
Because their offense is electric and is going to be electric, but you saw how bad their defense was last year. And I don't care how good your offense is. Like we say in basketball, scoring 30 don't mean a thing when you're giving up 30. Yeah. So if you're going to give up 30, 35 points every game like they were last year, the offense is going to be able to score 30 points every single game. So,
and especially with their offensive line, I mean, it's a shell of its former self. All those guys got old. Travis Frederick retired. Tyron Smith is on his last legs as far as his NFL career goes. And Zach Martin's pretty much all they got now. You saw what Zeke was able to do behind that offensive line last season, and it wasn't a whole heck of a lot. He got 1,000 yards, but 15 guys in the NFL get 1,000 yards now. So it's interesting because yes, Zeke makes all this money. Who's going to want that? I don't know, because paying a running back is just not the norm in the NFL anymore. It really isn't. If a team had to go really wanted to go that route, then the Cowboys should really pick up the phone and start calling. But I can't see anybody wanting to take on a $15 million running back contract who has an injury history, who doesn't perform well behind bad offensive lines. And, he's just not the spearhead of a productive offense like we saw he was in his rookie season. So it's going to be tough to get rid of that contract. They're going to need to add offensive line help to protect Dak Prescott now, because obviously he's got that, in the back of his head. I mean, he had nearly a career-ending injury. So he's going to need some help, protection. He's got the weapons. As long as you can put a group around him, you're going to put up a lot of points. But like you said, if you don't get rid of that Zeke contract, there's not a lot of room for flexibility to build the defense. So the Cowboys are in a tough spot now that they're paying a guy $40 million.
See, and that's the difference between, like we both said, we like the deal for the Cowboys and Dak. Like, it needed to be done because there's not better options out there. Dak's only 27. His productivity at this age is very, very good. But
27?
Yeah, he's only 27.
I just thought he was younger than that, to be honest. Wow.
Oh, he was younger. Well, this is his fourth year in the league.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little bit older than what you'd like in a fourth year or fifth year player. But there's a difference between this contract and the Mahomes contract. I mean, Mahomes got paid 10 years, $500 million, and it's so spaced out that you're going to be able to put a team around him. Dak, this is more of like an NBA contract. Like, obviously not as much money, but 4 years, $40 million a year. So it's going to be more difficult, I think, to build a complete team around him. We both just mentioned that. But it's just an overall recap of this breaking news mega deal on a Monday night in March. I think it was necessary for both sides because I don't think there was better options.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do? Are you going to trade for Russell Wilson? Obviously, that doesn't look like the case anymore. Looks like one of Russ's preferred destinations is off the table. So, I mean, we're going to get to that in a little bit as well. But that definitely made me smile when I saw that the Cowboys are locking in for their franchise quarterback. It's crazy. They really had no other route to go. This was the only one that I could have seen. I just, last season I wouldn't have been the guy to say, you know what, give him $40 million. And obviously Jerry Jones wasn't either. It looked like, though, that potentially maybe they had a discussion and they said, you know what, or Dak Prescott said, you know what, if you franchise tag me again, there's no way I'm coming back to Dallas the next season. So Jerry Jones had to pull the trigger.
That was 100% the conversation being made there. I mean, it's pretty blatant too. I think it happens all around the league. I don't care if you're a star quarterback, one of the wide receivers. If you get tagged 2 years in a row, that shows that they have no commitment towards you, and therefore the player's gonna leave. And so I think the deal had to be done, or it was a guaranteed Dak was leaving after this year. But the Cowboys locked up their QB for the future, and maybe they can finally go win some things. But let's move into other NFL talk. We'll just jump right in. Because another player that has been pretty good the past 2 or 3 years, Zach Ertz, obviously had been last year, reported that he could be on the move soon. What team best suits him? Because there's teams out there that want a tight end, and it seems like Ertz's days on the Eagles are done.
Yeah, this is tough. A lot of teams would love Zach Ertz. He is, when he's healthy, you could say he's a top 3 tight end in the NFL. But there's a bunch of teams that you could think of. I mean, guys who need receiving help. I mean, if you want to somehow salvage Deshaun Watson in Houston, go get him Zach Ertz. I don't know, but there are a few teams that Zach Ertz could go to. Seattle's one of them. I mean, Russell Wilson needs more help because Zach Ertz is a very confident blocking tight end as well. The Colts because they probably need some receiving help as well. I would say the Colts definitely are a top destination, but I don't know how much deals that Philly would want to be doing with Indianapolis just after trading them Carson Wentz. So we'll see. But if I had to go with a team to say that, this team needs him the most, they should go after him, I'd say it's the Colts.
I agree. That was my team in reunite Wentz and and Ertz again. I don't know how much Ertz would want that, but the Colts do need a tight end. There's plenty of number of teams that need a tight end. And like the Chargers, they have Hunter Henry. Are they going to let him walk? Are they going to pay him? Then if they let him walk, then they can trade for Ertz. The Patriots, my Patriots, they need a tight end desperately. So maybe they're in there. But I also heard
they need a tight end. I mean, they need a quarterback too.
God, it's going to be a.
Who's going to throw to him? I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's done pretty good things with the tight end. So we'll see if Bill Belichick wants to go down that avenue.
I don't know if you saw this report. It was on NBC, but apparently Jimmy Garoppolo is plan A for quarterback in this current offseason for the New England Patriots.
That's what I've heard. I heard they're really – I just don't know why he gave him up. What was the point?
Because Belichick wanted to keep him. But the thing is, there's no way with the level of QB that Brady was playing, there's no point of having this man sit on your bench for nothing. So they went out and grabbed a second-round pick. I don't hate it. The question is, what are you going to have to give up to get Jimmy G? His value didn't go up. It either down or stayed the same. So it's probably he's worth 1 second or 1/3 at most.
I'd say it's a third or a second right now. I mean, Garoppolo has. I mean, you talk about injury histories. Garoppolo hasn't been able to stay on the field.
Yeah, he never has. Even with New England, when he stepped in 2016 when Brady was suspended 4 games, he only played 2.5 games.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't see Jimmy Garoppolo being moved, to be honest. So the Patriots have a whole nother issue on their hands. Unless the 49ers want to draft a rookie quarterback and start him or trade for someone, I don't see them finding a better option than Garoppolo. And their roster is so talented right now. I don't think they could afford to go into a rebuild guess with a running back. You know what you got in Jimmy G. You know it can work. I imagine them sticking with Jimmy Garoppolo personally.
Yeah.
So we'll move on from Ertz because then we'll move into the franchise tag deadline. We actually just got a franchise tag.
Yes.
Right after Marcus May from the New York Jets, he was franchise tagged. I think they said $10.5 million for safeties, which is a pretty good deal for May. There's been 2 franchise tags so far, Marcus May and Justin Simmons for the Broncos. So 2 safeties got franchise tags, which is kind of funny that it was 2 safeties out of the first.
Those would be 2 guys where they're both very young, and I would have locked them up for $10 million a year. I absolutely would have.
For sure, Justin Simmons. May, there's questions, but Simmons.
May, I would give him a 2-year, 3-year deal to prove himself a little bit. I mean, maybe $8 million a year on 3 years. I mean, I think Marcus May would even accept that. So that would have been something I would have done with the Jets, especially after losing Jamal Adams. But this scares me for what the market's going to look like for President Mal for Seattle.
Oh yeah, your Seahawks are in an interesting spot. You know what? Let's go to the tag deadline after. We haven't been on in a while. You mentioned it just briefly a little bit. We thought the Russ trade is speculation. Turns out it is possible, which I didn't.
Possible is a good word. That's a good word to put it.
I didn't think it was possible, but apparently it is. He named 4 teams. Tell me if I'm wrong. One was the Cowboys, so that's thrown out. One was the Raiders, Bears, and I'm blanking on the last one.
I believe Saints were the last one.
You are correct. It was the Saints. Now you say it, which they can't do that. They have so much roster. Like there's no.
We got 2 of the and there's. You know what? It's really the Raiders. I really just think it's the Raiders because there's no way Chicago does it. No. They are saying that they're going to go full throttle for Russell Wilson, but what do they have to give up? I wouldn't take anything that Chicago has. I wouldn't even answer their phone calls. But speaking of phone calls, that's what's happening with Seattle right now. They're picking up, not picking up the phone, but they're not hanging up when other teams inquire, and that's what scares me the most. I know they don't want to trade Russell Wilson, but if the right deal comes along, and I mean the right deal, I don't mean get good value. I mean you get everything. You rob a team of its future.
You taking 3 firsts, a second, and Khalil Mack?
Oh yeah. Give me that.
I was curious. I don't. What's the lowest?
They wouldn't even think about it.
What was the lowest you're going?
Oh my God, you got to get at least 1 impact player on defense, specifically pass rush.
Especially because we released Carlos Dunlap today too.
Yep, I was gonna say. I was gonna joke when we came back in that I was like, okay, so let's get into it. We're talking about Carlos Dunlap getting released today, but obviously that Dak Prescott was the biggest news. Yeah, we need pass rush desperately, and what happens? Do we trade with a team in the top 10 in the draft and we pick up a quarterback and then we get an impact player and then we get more draft picks? That's probably the lowest I'll possibly go. It really is. I think Russell Wilson is one of the most valuable players in the entire NFL. You don't trade that guy. And he's not on the brink of what Deshaun Watson's doing right now, but if you don't get him any help, next season he will be. So you got to really figure it out, Seattle. I talk about this at length day after day. There's just so much that they need to do to put him back in a situation where like he's comfortable, happy, and wanting to be with Seattle for the rest of his career. So they need to figure something out. I just hope it's soon.
Do you think he's more valuable or less valuable than Deshaun Watson?
I think it's even. I would edge Deshaun Watson just for the age factor, but that's really it.
I'm curious, and I'm throwing another trade offer out there. I love fake trades.
Hypothetical. We are the show of hypotheticals here.
We love hypotheticals. I mean, but that's the most I think fun thing about sports, though, is just thinking about potential things that
could happen.
Yeah, exactly. What could happen? This trade has been mocked, I think, to the Texans, but Miami. I know he's not on the teams, but there are 2 firsts this year, so 3, 18, Xavier Howard, and Tua.
I don't think the Dolphins would do that.
You don't think they'd sign that much?
No, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, you just picked a guy that's basically giving up number 3, number 5, and your best defensive player.
That's true. You know what surprised me is that we weren't planning on talking this, but just because we're on the top of the Dolphins, Kyle Van Noy getting cut.
Yeah, that was odd. That was really odd. I thought he played really well for them this season. Obviously, that's a guy that's not always on the field, but when he is, he's a veteran, a leader, one of the best, just tackling linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah, it was weird, especially because he signed a 4-year, $50 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And after 1 year, they cut him. I'll be interested to see where he goes because I don't think he's like washed. Like he'll plays. Like it was just weird to me. But I mean, for your mental sake, I'm gonna hope Russell Wilson doesn't get traded. But for the show's sake, I hope he does get traded sometime during.
Are you kidding me?
Say in 3 weeks, he gets traded. I think I wouldn't have to talk for 40 minutes. I'd let you go for you know what?
I don't think I'd be allowed on college radio anymore if I was given 40 minutes when we traded Russell Wilson.
The whole 2 hours goes to Tyler just talking about the Seahawks and the Russell Wilson trade.
There would be screaming, there would be expletives, there would be tears, there would be the whole nine, man. It would be a scene.
Well, it's probably not going to happen. So I think you'll be safe. Well,
at least this season.
Yeah, let's move into the franchise tag deadline because we expect a lot of movement within the next 24 hours because there has to be a lot of movement in the next 24 hours because the deadline, I believe, right now is 4 p.m. tomorrow. And so we'll know who is hitting free agency, who is not hitting free agency. I heard a rumor that the NFL is thinking about moving it back until they figure out the salary cap, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So we're just going to take it as the deadline is tomorrow, and we're going to go through some big-name players and basically say if we think they're going to get tagged or going to hit free agency and what the team should do and what the players should do, because obviously we'll have a full show of bracketology next week after Selection Sunday, but, I mean, it's the first weekend or first day of free agency, so we'll have to touch on some of NFL. We'll just get ahead of ourselves now. Let's start with the Chicago Bears, Allen Robinson. What do you think happens with him?
What do I think happens with him, or what do I think the Bears should do?
I guess you could do both.
Okay. Well, from Allen Robinson's perspective, get the hell out of Chicago. Just get the hell out of Chicago, man. You're not doing anything there. Your best quarterback in your career has been Blake Bortles, and your second best been Mitchell Trubisky. So
I don't see a problem there.
I don't see a problem there either. I love the boat. But no, he's got to go find a quarterback because if he does, easily a top 8 receiver in the NFL when he's on his game.
And if he were to be franchise tagged, it'd be for about $18 million just for
wouldn't be mad at the money, but the situation looks like it's tarnished.
I think if I was Allen Robinson, I'd definitely want out for I think the Bears will end up tagging him. I hope he doesn't because I'm a big Allen Robinson fan, and I want to see him play in a more ideal situation personally.
I wonder why they would do that though. Like, so you spend 18 million this year. Are you really a contender? Why do you need to go do that? Why don't you go build up, like get another defensive piece, foundational guy who's going to be here for a couple of years?
That's fair, but how often do you have a? I think he's a top 10 wide receiver regardless.
Absolutely agree.
I'm high on him. So why would you let one walk if you have him? But the Bears have so many issues. I could see them letting him walk because of the questions at quarterback. The questions still a little bit defensively. The defense is still pretty good, but there's still a little bit of questions in the secondary. They had a good rookie, Jalen Johnson, but they need more answers. There's more question there than there is answers, personally. So it's going to be interesting. And another wide receiver, Kenny Galladay.
I'm interested to see what happens there. I'm very interested to see because you just add Jared Goff. I mean, you're going to need something around him to have any semblance of success. I think they franchise tag Galladay.
And his number would be about $15.8 million.
That's worth it. I think that's absolutely worth it for 1 year. Do it.
And they have so many questions because they're obviously drafting 7th right now. They traded Matt Stafford. They have Jared Goff. They have like no wide receivers under contract. Marvin Jones is a free agent. Kenny Galladay could be a free agent. I think their only wide receiver I could put the name right now is Quintez Cephas. So
I couldn't put him the name before you just said that.
He was a rookie out of Wisconsin. So I'm just flexing my random football player knowledge there. It is interesting because they could let both Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones walk and draft a wide receiver at 7 and maybe sign a cheaper wide receiver and just go full rebuild on the offensive side. It's a possibility. As
deep as this, wide receiver class is, it would be so Lions to draft a receiver because they need so much other help. I mean, when you don't have an established quarterback and an established offensive line, just go build the defense. Just keep building the defense until you can win games without a quarterback.
I feel bad for the Lions because they've had a top 10 quarterback for the past, 12 years, ever since Stafford's been in the league, 10, 12 years, and nothing's have come of it, and they're about to enter a dark time.
Oh, and dark time, like, for the Lions, like, they've been in the top 10 drafting for pretty much, 5 years now? Stafford hasn't been in the playoffs since probably 2015.
I mean, they went 0-16, and then they obviously drafted Stafford.
Shout out to Orlovsky.
Orlovsky ran out of the back of the end zone. But they're just going to be in for a long – because they don't really have anything going for them. No. Like, I can name something.
Jeff Okudah, I mean, he was supposed to be the most talented cornerback in the draft. He wasn't on the field at all last year.
He was even the best rookie corner in this draft.
Nope, very close.
It's just the Lions are in for a tough time, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with Galladay. I could totally see them let him walk, though, and just rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win anything next year if you have that conversation with Kenny Galladay. Just be like, you know what? Just let me go.
It'd be interesting to see if Allen Robinson and Kenny Galladay both hit the market because they'd obviously be in high demand.
And they would get more. They would arguably get what they. I mean, I don't know if they'd get 15 million, but they'd probably get something close to that in the 13, 14 range.
I think Allen Robinson would get 15 plus.
Yeah, Allen Robinson would probably get 15 plus. Kenny Galladay, I think people sleep on him as a receiver, man. He has obviously had Matt Stafford, but Matt Stafford hasn't always been healthy. That offensive line has never been good. So, I mean, Matt Stafford's never been in the best position to put the ball in Kenny Galladay's hands, and he still makes all these acrobatic sideline catches. So we'll see. He's very talented, and he's come along a long way in the past couple of years. So I'm interested to see what happens to him next year.
Yeah. Another thing, we're not specifically talking about a person, but what will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning champions, what will they do? They have about 3 decisions to make when it comes to the franchise tag. There's another wide receiver, Chris Godwin. He wants to stay there. They want him there. Are they going to tag him? But they also have to pay Shaq Barrett, Monte David. They're gonna have to. It's just how it works. They're gonna have to tag one of the 3. Which one do you think they'll go with?
I think they just go with whichever is the most expensive, as far as whoever has the highest franchise tag value. I think it's absolutely between Oh, that's funny. I honestly, you know what? I just think it has to be Godwin. I think that Devin White has to get locked up for the next 5 years, and Levante David's a staple in Tampa Bay history, so he's got to be on a whatever 2-year, 3-year deal.
Yeah, I think what they have to do, and it would be 15.8, just like Kenny Galladay for Chris Godwin.
Oh yeah, do that. Why not?
I would do that. Roll the dice on a 2-year, like maybe $25 million deal with Levante David, and then if I can make the room happen, sign Shaq Barrett to a big time 3-year deal or 4-year deal. That's what I
would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know why I said Devin White before. Shaq Barrett is the catalyst of their pass rush, and you can't really win a Super Bowl, can't get to a Super Bowl without a decent enough pass rush to compete. He spearheads that defensive line. I think you've got to keep him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've got to keep all three if they want to run it back, to me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's interesting to see if you're someone who likes the money side of football and the team building process, this is going to be like case A to watch because they have a lot of decisions and they're all tough decisions. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. The next one we're going to talk about, as I said before, was Dak, but we know what happened with Dak, so we'll move on. Just one I'm really intrigued on is Aaron Jones, running back for the Packers. There's rumors.
What would that command?
I'm gonna find that in a second. It was just right here. God, the worst is when you had it and then it just disappeared. 8.5 mil.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why not?
I don't think they do. And my reason for this is they drafted AJ Dillon. Was it the second or third round last year?
I think he was a second round pick.
They drafted AJ Dillon. They gave a lot of work to Jamal Williams. I don't think there's a point of bringing him back when you have those two. You don't use Aaron Jones as a workhorse back because you saw AJ Dillon, you saw Jamal Williams. So why would you pay him 8.5 mil? Let him walk. Let him get like $12 million a year somewhere else, and just have those two backs because you don't run the ball that much. It's Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Your runs are bubble screens to Tay Adams. So I think they let him walk, and if I was the Packers, I would let him walk.
So you talk about that they don't run the ball a lot. I think that they have to keep. Obviously, AJ Dillon's on a rookie deal, so he's staying for a couple of years. Aaron Jones, though, he's most productive, and yeah, he's a really good runner, but he's most productive, catching screens. I really believe that, and I think that's worth $8 million in today's NFL. I really think it's a vital part of the passing game is when running backs can really get in the open space and create out of the backfield off passes. So I think that's going to be worth the $8 million franchise tag. I believe that the Packers will do so.
It's fair. I can see them tagging him because then they will be able to see what happens next year with Aaron Rodgers. And
exactly.
Then possibly then you start rebuilding, let him walk, maybe whatever happens with Aaron Rodgers. So I could see them doing it. But if I was running the Packers, I would just trust Jamal Williams and AJ Dillon personally.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely the captain and the everything for them. So that's really what the priority has to be. Give him more receiving help. So if that means getting rid of Aaron Jones to put more help on the outside, then so be it. It'll probably be the same result, maybe even better.
Yeah, and the last one we'll talk about before we head to break and then talk college basketball for the final 30 minutes. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Interesting.
Very interesting because the Steelers are also capped. They're cap tight. Like they don't have a lot of room for wiggle, and I don't have the exact number for what it would be for him, but the projected I would assume be like Chris Godwin and Kenny Galladay 15.8 because I think they're all like in the same draft class. So
yeah, 27. Just a quick side note: that 2017 draft class, elite as far as playmakers go.
I mean, it's crazy. Like obviously these wide receivers are worth paying. But the amount of crazy wide receivers that you get in the drafts nowadays is like unreal.
This season,
I could go on and on about the wide receivers in this class and then last class. So it's interesting to see how many wide receivers just come in and make impacts right away. But what do you think happens with Juju?
See, the problem with Juju is he can fit in a lot of places. Don't get me wrong. He can play with a lot of different quarterbacks. He's a catch and run kind of guy. So for teams like maybe the 49ers, why not? If you're going to run it back with Jimmy G, get a guy who can make those quick cuts and get the ball in open space. That would be something that Juju would be really good at. But he could play with a lot of teams. I just don't know what teams are going to pay him after the season he had.
That's the $1 million question. I don't think
what's he going to command?
Yeah, I don't think the Steelers tag him.
No.
Maybe the Steelers try to re-sign him, but I wouldn't. You got Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson. Yeah, he had struggled with drops, but he was by far the most talented player on that team, or wide receiver on that team. The way he could create separation and run routes is insane. If he could just learn how to catch the ball consistently, he will be a top wide receiver in the NFL. I'm calling my shot now on Deontay Johnson. They got James Washington. They got 3 good young wide receivers and Juju Smith. So I think they could let him go.
I don't think he'll be back with the Steelers.
Get a running back either through the draft or maybe in free agency like Kenyon Drake. Maybe if Aaron Jones hits the market, pay him. Because with Big Ben coming back, we know that offensive throwing it 40 times a game is not going to work. So please, for the love of God, if you want to succeed, Steelers, you need to have a running game.
I mean, for a team that has arguably a top 3 defense in the NFL, bringing back Ben Roethlisberger might have been their worst decision in a long time. I think it was time. I was a Big Ben defender this year, and not as a person, as a football player. I was a Big Ben defender this year, but it showed at the end of the season that he just was not up to par. I mean, he was getting exposed by the Browns. So we'll see. I think that this was the year that the Steelers have that elite defense. They have the playmakers on offense. They have the offensive line. Go get a quarterback in the draft. Go trade up. You don't really need all this draft capital for the next few years. You have the solidified defense. You have the playmakers on offense. Just go get a quarterback. Go get your Zach Wilson.
That was my question to you. I was going to say, do you think they sit at 24 and possibly go running back, or do you think they trade up to try to get a Mac Jones? I don't know how far they can trade up. Maybe
I can't give you things about Mac Jones. I'm never going to be in on Mac Jones. I promise you. But
they into Kirk Cousins, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get Kirk Cousins instead of Ben Roethlisberger, and I mean, is that what you were saying? You were calling Mac Jones Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, someone compared him to that today. It was like, I see a lot of Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones.
If that's what you're gonna be, and that's what he's guaranteed to be, then yeah. And if that's what the Steelers see in him, then yeah. You know what? I think that's an absolutely better. I think it's an absolute upgrade over Ben Roethlisberger at this stage in his career.
Yeah, and as we had the break, I'm just going to throw out a quick Kirk Cousins thing. I don't think Kirk Cousins is as bad as people think he is. He has an awful offensive line, and I think
he's always been great receivers, though.
I mean, I give him that. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, my lord. But
yeah, Diggs before that too, and he just wouldn't throw him the ball.
Either way, I don't think Kirk Cousins is that bad, and that's how we're going to have the break. Kirk Cousins, defending Kirk Cousins. That's how we go to break. But when we come back. 30 minutes of college basketball to wrap up. We break down conference tournaments. We give our 8-10 postseason predictions and a lot more. So stay tuned on the Director's Cut live from WSBU 88.3, The Buzz. Welcome back to WSBU 88.3 The Buzz, live from St. Bonaventure University. You're listening to the Director's Cut with Nic Rohloff and Tyler Smith. And in our final 24 minutes, we have to go quick because we talked a lot about other stuff. It was a big show, packed show, great stuff.
News.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy good show with a lot of content. And we're going to go in deep college basketball, but I'll just run through, I guess, the headlines so we can go more in depth about A10 season awards and conference tournaments. Michigan dropped 2 this week. Quickly, are you concerned about them heading into March?
I'm not. I'm really not. I think that they're a complete team. I think Javon Howard's become a really good coach. Hunter Dickinson is a March player. And if they faced Tom Izzo at Michigan State, I mean, that was a must-win for the Spartans to get in the tournament. So that was big. And Illinois, I think, just matches up really well with them. As long as they don't see them in March, then I think that they could beat pretty much anybody else.
I agree with you completely on Connor Gillespie, star point guard for Villanova towards MCL. He's out for the rest of the year, and their backup point guard, I'm losing the name, but he hurt his ankle, and he is going to miss, I think, the conference tournament. How much does this impact Villanova? I don't think they might get upset in first round without Gillespie.
I was thinking, maybe the same thing. They have a lot of shooters, and, you also have Jay Wright. Jay Wright is not a typical quick out in the NCAA tournament. It's happened maybe once, and maybe in the second round in the past 10 years. I think they lost once in the round of 32, and then the rest of the seasons they made it further. So that's a tough injury. It really is, because Gillespie is by far the best player on that team, probably the best player in the Big East, depending on who you talk to. But yeah, that's going to hurt Villanova. You said they could be upset in the first round. Depending on the seed, there could be a scary 14, 13 seed, depending on where they fall. But yeah, Villanova doesn't look like they're going to make it far.
Liberty, just calling my shot now. They're projected to be a 13 seed by Lenardi. They're good. If they end up facing Liberty as a 4 seed, might call my shot now, go with Liberty. But obviously,
I could see Toledo out of the MAC if they get a favorable seed against Villanova. That could be another team for upset watch as well.
Yeah, and obviously next week we'll give you all of our upset watches. But yeah, I mean, Tyler, I'm pumped, man.
Can't wait, man.
All right, another Baylor lost its first game of the season last weekend, and then followed up by beating West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech in the same week. So if you have any questions about Baylor, there's your answer.
Yeah, exactly. 3 quad 1 wins in a week after their first loss of the season at Kansas. And I predicted them to lose at Kansas. That's a tough place to play. You're playing a Hall of Fame coach and a disciplined basketball team. Everybody needs to lose before the tournament. That's why I'm scared about Gonzaga.
Oh, that's a nice little tidbit right there that you shouted out. But West Virginia, that Baylor game, elite shot making. I don't know if you were able to catch it. I was
watching it.
I watched the whole second half. Unbelievable game. I think that might have overtaken my game of the year, the way that one played.
What was your first game of the year?
Remember, it was the Oklahoma West Virginia game. So West Virginia
that was what I thought. The Big 12, I mean, just a quick side note, the Big 12 has put about 4 games of the year on this year. And the Big 10's probably put up 2 or 3, but the Big 12 has been the best basketball in the country this season, no doubt.
I mean, obviously Gonzaga is like the number 1 team in the country right now.
Who cares about them? They're playing the WAC.
It would be tough to leave them out. But give me a Big 10, Big 12, just battle for 3 weeks straight. I'm okay with it.
If that's what they were, if that was the last major COVID thing that they needed to do this season, I would have been fine with it.
Right. One of those top Big 10 teams, Ohio State, got up to 4th in the country and then lost 4 straight. They're on a 4-game losing streak heading into the Big 10 tournament. Where do you think they'll be seeded come March Madness time, and will the struggle continue going in that tournament?
It all depends on how they do in the conference tournament. I mean, they dropped all the way to 5th.
As I said, 5th seed. That's crazy.
5th seed. They were the number 4 team in the country. They're the number 5 team in their conference. So if they can beat Purdue, then in the second round, I assume that they get past the winner of Minnesota and Northwestern. But you can never tell with the way that they've been playing lately. But if they get past Purdue, competitive against Michigan, God forbid they beat Michigan, they can move all the way up to a 2 seed. They could move all the way down to a 4 seed.
I think Will has them as the last 2 seed right now, I believe.
Yeah, they can move down to a 4 with an early loss against Purdue. They could.
I agree with you 1,000%. That wraps up our quick little headlines in college basketball. But now it's time to get more in depth into the A10. I mean, we watch A10 basketball pretty closely because of the Bonnies, so we have pretty good insight on it. But we could do this for any conference. But hey, let's still stick hometown. We'll do the A10. We got our first team, all first team, and we got our player of the year, defense player of the year, freshman of the year, basically, and coach of the year. Let's do player of the year first. Let's go with, who do you got?
Is this easy? Is it really just too easy?
I think it is easy.
I think it's easy. I think it's Bones Highland. I don't even think it's close. Trey Mitchell had a chance had UMass been a little better and had he played more than 13 games. But Bones Highland played 23 games, the most of any player in the Atlantic 10. And he was also the leading scorer. He was the stone cold killer for the VCU Rams. There's no question that he's the best player in the conference.
There is no question. And we talked about his NBA chances earlier, and hopefully he leaves after this year because he is that dude. I think it isn't that close. And I'm scared that we're going to agree on our defensive player and rookie of the years. I am scared.
Who do you have for rookie of the year? I'm curious because I don't see a lot of freshmen.
Freshman, I went with Mustafa of Zeal. Hopefully I said that right. Big man for Dayton. He averaged 10.
Oh, yeah.
Rebounds. He was, I think, it was either between him and Ace Baldwin on VCU, but I like
Ace Baldwin. Yeah, he's pretty good.
I give the edge to Zeal. I hope I'm saying that right.
I know he played last year, but I'm going to cheat and give my rookie of the year prediction because it's basically, it's almost, I'm treating it as the most improved kind of spotlight award. Give it to Hyunjung Lee. Hey, he came out of nowhere this year and started being the Steph Curry, the Chinese Steph Curry. I really don't want to get his ethnicity wrong, but he the Asian Steph Curry, Hyunjung Lee. He's elite from long range.
Very, very good. I had a slight hope that Davidson was going to beat VCU in the semifinals so we could get not a cakewalk, but a favorable eight.
Rule of three. I wanted VCU to win because we would have lost to Davidson the third time.
I think we're just, you said it earlier, we just are a matchup problem for them, I think.
Definitely.
It is. All right. So we actually disagreed on freshman of the year. So, freshman handshake of the year. I think the defensive player of the year is also no question. They're probably
he had 7 blocks last game. There's no come on, man.
Our same Bonaventure Bonnies, man. He led the A10 in blocks per game with 2.6. That was before the A10 tournament where he had 3 against Duquesne and 7 against St. Louis. So he obviously had averaged 5 in the A10 tournament so far. Best shot blocker and best defense in the conference. I think it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Let's go coach of the year. Who do you got?
I'm going to go, and I hate to do it for the Bonnies, but, Mark Schmidt, I have to do it. I've never been the biggest fan of how he manages in-game, but the guy wins games. And John Rothstein says it more with less. That's not an indictment on the players that he brings in. It's a testament to what he does with the resources available around St. Bonaventure. Nobody wants to come play in the Riley Center and only in New York because they know they'll lose. Nobody wants to give Bonnies the credit they deserve. And he's put together all these seasons of double-digit A10 wins, and now he's got the first outright A10 championship in history. And he's one win away from capping off a perfect A10 season. I think it's got to be Marky Schmidt.
It's hard to disagree with you, but I am, because I'm going the opposition. Again, VCU, Mike Rhodes. It seems like almost everything we're doing is either a VCU or a Bonaventure player. That's just how good the two teams have been. But Mike Rhodes has VCU as 19-6 right now, ahead of schedule, as John Rothstein said. He said when we played them on that Friday night, Bonaventure's right on schedule. VCU's ahead of schedule because that whole team is young. I mean,
very young.
Bones Highland's a sophomore. Hassan Ward's a sophomore. Ace Baldwin's a freshman. Their top players are young, and like I got to take from John Rothstein, man. He's got them ahead of schedule, and he just did a tremendous job this year. I mean, they were predicted, I think, by mostly everybody to be. I think I saw lowest 11th, highest 7th.
Oh wow! I didn't know that. I thought they were right around that 6-7 range in most people's opinions. But I wouldn't be surprised if people slept on VCU this year.
I saw one earlier today when looking, that had him preseason 11, And there could have been one higher, but the highest one I saw personally was, I think, 7. I mean, people had us 6 and 5. Like, that's
Yeah,
where we were.
absolutely. People didn't think that people could argue that we're ahead of schedule as well. I mean, they were kind of just waiting until all these guys were seniors, but they're all juniors and they're balling out.
Yeah, like everybody voted Richmond, St. Louis, Duquesne even because
I
their
don't know
whole
what the hype about Duquesne was. People thought they would be some turnaround program, but they were not very good.
because Dunmartin was a senior, Hughes was a senior, and Marcus Weathers was a senior. So that's their 3 best players were seniors. So they were just thinking they were going to carry. But that's that for that. And then we're going to give our first team. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. You want me to rattle off my entire first team?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jalen Crutcher. This is tough because I'm either going Blake Francis or Javante Perkins. I think I'm gonna give the edge to Perkins, to edge out the backcourt. And no, wait, why am I not putting Bones Highland on the? Okay, never mind. Hold on. Bones Highland and Jalen Crutcher are my 2 in the backcourt. And honestly, I would put in Javante Perkins as a 3rd backcourt member. Then I'd put in Trey Mitchell and Oshuni would be my first team.
Okay, I'm glad we differ. I got Bones.
Mm-hmm.
I got Kyle Lofton as there.
I don't hate that pick whatsoever.
I think it's just like when you have the point guard, the leading scorer, leading assist man. I think it just almost have to. I got Trey Mitchell as my big, so that's pretty standard, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: I didn't do another forward. I kind of went guard heavy. I have Jordan Goodwin. He plays like a forward, but is listed as a guard.
Yep.
19 and 10. That's pretty good. And here's the kicker. I want Kellen Grady instead of Jalen Crutcher.
I don't love the Kellen Grady pick. Everything else you said was valid until you got to the Davidson guard.
Sorry, Grady. I mean, he averaged 18. He averaged 1 less point than Crutcher. I think the same on assists, but maybe Davidson was better than Dayton on the around himself. But Davidson was a 3 seed, so in the A-10s, and Dayton was a 7. So that's why I went with Kellen Grady.
All right. So the reason I'm just gonna do, before we move on to quick conference tournament talk, the only reason I defect from your Kellen Grady statement is because he's averaged 17.3 points for the past 3 years. He has.
Yeah, but like he just is like he's consistent.
He's a senior this year. He was supposed to be the man. He was supposed to be averaging 22 a game. I think it's an underwhelming season from Kellen Grady. No disrespect to what he put up. I mean, that's hard in any Division I college basketball conference. I just don't think it was first team worthy, but we can differ.
Nah, I mean, you can't go wrong. Either of our teams are very, very good.
Very deep conference this year as far as individual talent goes.
Oh, couldn't be deeper. And before we go into conference tourneys, quickly, we did our A-10 player of the year. Who's your national player of the year? I feel like we're going to have the same answer for this, but
it's Garza. It's got to be. He's the best player in the country.
24 and 9, special.
And he shoots a 3. That's it.
Special. So I think it has to go to Luka Garza. So we got 10 minutes to go to our conference tournament predictions. We did the Power 5 and we threw in the Big East because, that might as well be a Power 5 at this point.
They sometimes mention the Power 5 Big East. Like they kind of just, lump it in now. I respect that. I'm a big Big East guy too. So
with basketball, with UConn returning, I would rather have them be considered Power 5 more than the Pac-12.
Very much agreed. The Big East is a deeper conference than the Pac-12, and they showed it last year. They're showing it again this year, and now they have UConn added in, and UConn's good again.
The Pac-12's golden era was Dylan Brooks, Peyton Pritchard, Lonzo. 2016, 2017, that's their golden year. Other than that, not that memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the ACC, though. I made full bracket predictions. It could go either way. Who do you got winning it?
I think this is very tough because I'm not high on Louisville. I'm not high on Virginia. I'm not high on Duke. I'm not high on NC State. I'm not high on Clemson. And the only team I'm really see making the second weekend here, barring a couple upsets, is Florida State. Now, the thing with the ACC tournament is the number 1 seed never wins. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to say that Virginia gets it done.
You think so?
Yeah, I think I think Tony Bennett's the best coach in the conference as far as like currently. And if you factor in the rosters too, I mean, you could say him or Coach K or Roy Williams, whatever you want to say, but it has to be Tony Bennett being the best active coach and the best active roster. Virginia.
I went with Florida State. I'm not as high on Virginia as I once was, but if I had to make one little other prediction other than Florida State beating Virginia in the championship game, I think North Carolina solidifies itself as a. I mean, they're already solidified as a tournament team, but I think it gets them to a 7, maybe even a 6 seed. I think they win their first game. Obviously, they play the winner of Notre Dame or Wake Forest. I think that's pretty easy. I think they play Virginia Tech, who's been on a long COVID pause. I think they beat them, and then they'll lose to Florida State in the semis. But 2 wins in the ACC tourney to get to the semis will get them up to a 6 seed. That's just my bold prediction for North Carolina. They're playing too.
And of course I'm being dumb, and I was saying that the number 1 seed never wins the ACC tournament, and I was looking at 2020's bracket. Of course I was. And now I'm looking at it, and Virginia's the number 1 seed. So I just picked Virginia, and of course they're not going to win now, but I'm still going to stick to my gut.
It's all right. Let's move into the Big 12. That or the Big 10
conference,
entertaining conference. I don't think that's even possible for me to think anyone but Baylor is going to win the tournament. But who do you think they're going to play? And I looked at it, and I could not believe that West Virginia and Oklahoma State are the 4 or 5 seeds.
I was going to say, if Cade Cunningham can come back, that's who I'm picking. And I would honestly –
the whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They just beat without Cade Cunningham. They beat West Virginia by 5 in West Virginia.
With Cade, they lost by like 12 the other night to Baylor.
I don't think that, and you talk about just a rule of rematches. I think that it has to be a different result this time. And Baylor needs another. I don't know. Can you only lose 1 game and go to the Final Four? I don't know.
I think they're that good, man. I think they're that good.
I've just never been able to put that. I know they've been in that tier with Gonzaga as the 2 best teams. I've never seen them as the national champions. I really can't. But if anybody is prime for March, Cade Cunningham is that guy, and he's going to come along in this Big 12 tournament.
Do you think they end up reversing the ban and let Oklahoma State play?
Okay, so the problem with that is that they don't need to reverse the ban. They just don't need to make a decision on it before the tournament, and they're in.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's why I was confused. For the past few weeks, everybody's had Oklahoma State in their brackets, and I'm like, wait, they're on a postseason ban for a year, but they're in the middle of an appeal. Therefore, that if there's no decision by Selection Sunday, then they get to be right in.
Yeah, there's no way they make a decision if they
not only need money.
If they were this good as like a balanced random team, like let's say Oklahoma, like they're not even like that good.
They would have made the decision already.
Yeah, exactly, but they got the number 1 player in college basketball, number 1 recruit. They're letting Cade Cunningham play in March. March is made for big time players.
Yep, we saw it with Ja that 2 years ago, and we're gonna see it with Cade Cunningham this year. That guy's built for the tournament.
All right, let's go to Big 10. Who do you got winning? This could go either way.
Yeah, talk about this could go either way. I mean, I'd love to see. I think Illinois is right with Michigan in that tier now. I really do. I don't know why I'm so high on Illinois, but
I agree with you. I'm there too.
They are legit, man. And it's funny. You could see Michigan State make a run. You could see Ohio State come out of that second day, Thursday, and go all the way to Sunday for the championship. You could see Wisconsin play their brand of basketball and get hot. I can't wait to see Illinois-Iowa again because that was a great game last time. Hopefully that's what happens and Iowa can get past Wisconsin. I could see Illinois easily getting past Indiana's Rutgers winner. But this is going to be the best because this is one of the deepest Big Tens we've had in a while. I think 7 or 8 teams could really get in.
The 13th seed Minnesota only officially got knocked out of the bubble like a week ago.
They literally were locked in, and I mean locked in until they lost 9 straight. That was ridiculous.
Indiana is going to just miss, and they're a 10 seed. This is the deepest conference in basketball. There's no debating it. You can say the Big 12 is better because of the top teams, but you could also say the Big 10 is better. I got Michigan beating Illinois in the championship game just because Michigan just lost them a week ago, and
By
there's
20.
a little bit of a beef going on between the two coaches, passive aggressive being said, and I think Michigan would win that game.
If Michigan, see, I would tend to agree. If Michigan can get to the championship game and Illinois meets them there, I don't think that there's any way Michigan loses that game, or else they're not a Final Four team and they're not in that top tier of college basketball teams that I predicted a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about it last week, and so many things have already changed. So many things changed. Let's do Pac-12, last of the technical Power Fives. Snoring, most boring Power Five one. No debate about that. I think only 3 teams. Is it 3 or 4 that are going to get in?
I'd say it's probably 3 or I think it's probably 4. Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Colorado.
Yeah, I think USC is going to win the tournament.
I love
the Pac-12.
They're actually a team I could see making the second weekend as long as the Mobley brothers play up to par.
I think we might be having stream issues. Tyler, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me?
I don't think you can.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think we are having issues for on our streaming surface, which is where Tyler is. If you are just listening on radio, I don't think we have Tyler with us here at the end, which is unfortunate. But I guess I'll just have to speak for him. I'm going USC in the Pac-12 championship.
Weird.